In the golden throne room of the Arkan Empire, the air was heavy with pride. Massive pillars rose toward a glass dome showing the stars above. Alien nobles from dozens of species filled the room. Ambassadors, warlords, council members, and wealthy merchants. They stood in silence as the great Empress Zalara walked up the shining steps to her throne. Her robes shimmered like liquid gold. Her silver crown caught the light of 3 artificial suns glowing above the room. Behind her, a giant holoscreen blinked to life, showing a single blue planet spinning slowly in space Earth. Zalara sighed, her voice calm but full of mockery. She raised one hand toward the image. No fleet, no colonies, no seat in the council, and yet it dares to send a voice to my court. Laughter filled the chamber. Loud, cruel, arrogant. Some nobles clapped, others jeered. A few shook their heads as if even mentioning Earth was a waste of time. Call it, Terra. Zalara went on, her long fingers dancing across the air as she controlled the hologram. But we remember it as the ghost planet, the one that vanished centuries ago. We sent messages, we waited, we assumed it had fallen. Perhaps it did, muttered a thin green-skinned ambassador from the Rissa's Combine. Perhaps, Zalara said with a smirk. But then, why now? Why after 200 years of silence does a signal from Earth enter our channel and say, simply, we remember? The laughter stopped for a brief moment. The words had been strange, haunting. No declaration, no demand. Just that we remember. And still Zalara continued. They offer no fleet, no ambassador, not even a trade ship. They sit on their broken little world, hiding behind clouds and static. Let us all agree Earth is finished. The crowd cheered again. But in a distant corner of the galaxy, far away from their laughter, something old began to stir. Earth beneath the crust, thousands of kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains, hidden behind layers of metal, rock, and forgotten history. A small console blinked green for the first time in 2 centuries. The chamber was cold, silent, long abandoned. Dust floated in zero gravity. Then, with a slow hum, ancient generators powered up. Soft white lights flickered on, revealing the chamber's size. A massive underground command center, larger than any aircraft hangar. Rows of machines stood frozen in time, each covered in tarps and dust. In the center, one terminal glowed. System online, Project Eclipse status. Dormant signal received, authorization verified, command code 97. Execute. The console waited. A moment passed. Then, far above the surface, an old Terran satellite caught a signal from deep space. The satellite was dead, but now, like a corpse rising, it activated its transmitters and sent the signal downward. The console responded. Confirmed. Executing. Project Eclipse, reinitializing network. Lights across the bunker blinked red, then turned steady blue. Robotic arms moved. Storage bays unlocked. And in the heart of the chamber, a long-dormant AI awoke. A soft voice echoed in the bunker. Eclipse protocol engaged. Humanity's last line has been crossed. Begin restoration of the fleet. The lost past Earth had disappeared from galactic politics centuries ago. No one knew why. Some thought Earth had destroyed itself. Others believed that the Terrans had gone to war with an enemy they could not defeat. A few believed Earth simply chose to withdraw, tired of wars and council lies. But now, something had changed. Unknown to the galaxy, Earth had never truly died. It had hidden, waiting, watching. After centuries of war, betrayal, and broken alliances, humanity had activated its final defense plan. Project Eclipse's secret Terran program, created not to save Earth, but to punish anyone who tried to erase it. The Empress's orders back in the throne room. Empress Zalara waved her hand again. The image of Earth disappeared. In its place, a galactic star map appeared, highlighting all member systems of the Arkan Dominion. Let this be known, she declared. If Earth chooses to speak again, it must do so as a subject, not an equal. I will not allow a forgotten world to insult this empire. A tall officer in dark armor stepped forward. Shall we send a scout ship, Empress? Just to observe, Zalara smiled. Yes, let the Terrans see us watching. And if they respond, remind them who rules the stars. Now, unknown destination far below Earth's surface. The AI continued its work. Across the galaxy, deep within asteroid fields, black holes, and uncharted nebulae, long-lost Terran stations blinked to life. Each had one purpose: to awaken what had been buried. Gigantic signal relays powered up silent for generations. Beacons hidden in the moons of dead planets began transmitting encrypted bursts of data. Each signal moved with terrifying precision, traveling faster than light, cutting through jamming fields, ignoring security layers built by newer empires. Their destination was not the Arkan Empire, it was everything else. Every Terran ship, every abandoned colony, every black site AI, every secret listening post left behind when Earth vanished. And above all else, the Supercarriers' final lines in a control station orbiting the edge of Neptune's dark side. A robotic arm moved for the first time in centuries. The console glowed. Received Eclipse signal, Terran Supercarrier Unit 01. Status: sleep override code verified. Waking. Massive engines hummed. Hidden beneath layers of ice and rock, something colossal began to stir. Its name burned on its side in faded white letters. ONS Eclipse One. As its eyes turned toward the stars, its voice-cold machine, precise, spoke one word: awake. On the far edge of the galaxy, past broken stars and forgotten systems, a scout ship floated silently. It belonged to the Arkan Empire. Its mission: observe Earth from a distance. Easy, safe. But when it reached Jupiter's orbit, it picked up something strange. A massive object cold, dark, silent was drifting in the shadow of the gas giant. The pilot tried to scan it. The moment the sensors locked on, the ship vanished. No explosion, no distress call, just silence. In the last half-second of its black box recording, only one thing was heard: a single word from an unknown channel: Eclipse. The AI expands deep beneath Earth. The Project Eclipse AI calculated a new timeline. Voice echoed through the underground facility. Scout ship intercepted. Empire confirmed. Hostile. Activating Phase 2. Dozens of mechanical arms moved at once. Data flooded screens. Power surged through buried systems. Hidden satellites reconnected with abandoned Terran relays across deep space. Dead networks sparked to life. Earth was no longer alone. It was surrounded by silent watchers ready to move. Thousands of years ago, humanity had learned the truth of the galaxy. Empires rise by fear. Peace survives by overwhelming force. Project Eclipse was not made to ask for help. It was made to remind the galaxy of Earth's strength. Supercarrier Eclipse One near Neptune, under a frozen crust. The first supercarrier fully powered up. The ONS Eclipse One was not just a ship. It was a city-sized machine of war, armed with weapons that had no names, forged with technology banned by every council law, and armored with materials no longer found in any star system. That its systems came online. A voice echoed from inside. Eclipse One online, awaiting commands. The AI on board wasn't human. That it had no mercy, no pride, no fear. Only one mission: respond with force when Earth is mocked, threatened, or dismissed. And Empress Zalara had just done all three. Hidden warnings across the galaxy. Quiet worlds started receiving fragments of a forgotten signal. Old, encrypted, barely readable. Most governments ignored it. One small moon-based research station in the Trenvok sector decoded part of it. This is Earth. If you hear this, stay out of the way. The sky will change. No threat, no announcement, just a warning. The researchers tried to report it, but before they could send their message, their entire comms array shut down. When they looked outside, they saw something blocking the stars. Not a fleet, just one giant black silhouette, drifting slowly past. No lights, no markings, but they knew what it was. Zelara's confidence back in the Arkan throne room. Empress Zelara sat calmly. A report was handed to her. Scout ship destroyed in Jupiter. Orbit unknown cause. No survivors. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't seem concerned. Malfunction, she said. Terran tech probably exploded on its own. Her officers looked unsure. Another report followed. Communication blackout in Trenvok sector. Still Zelara laughed. Let the galaxy panic. Earth is like a dying spark. All smoke, no flame. But far above her, hidden from all sensors, satellites across human space continued waking. One by one, they began transmitting encrypted pulses into the void. Each one repeated the same message: Eclipse protocol active. Other waking distant systems, long-abandoned Terran megastructures began moving. Entire moons cracked open as engines buried within them fired up. Carrier 12, Carrier 36, Carrier 77. Dozens more. Each was the size of a small continent. Each carried enough firepower to end civilizations. They had waited quietly for 2 centuries now. With the command confirmed, they stirred. The Eclipse AI's voice echoed across their cores. You have slept long enough. Earth remembers. Earth returns. The galaxy notices. In council worlds, whispers began. A sudden drop in sensor traffic. Strange, gravitational readings near dead sectors. Unknown. Vessels appearing and then vanishing seconds later. Some believed a lost race had returned. Others feared an ancient enemy. But none believed Earth was responsible. Earth was small. Earth was weak, right? A famous counselor, old and wise, looked up after reading the new reports. His voice trembled. No. It's them, the humans. They're not returning to talk. They're returning to remind. In the orbit of Saturn, a civilian Arkan freighter drifted quietly. Its crew was laughing, playing cards, and preparing for jump. But then one of them looked out the window. He froze. Above Saturn's rings, something massive was slowly turning. Black, silent. No lights, no comms, just a shape, bigger than anything he had ever seen. The Terran Supercarrier Eclipse One had arrived. Seconds later, all communication from the freighter ended. The last thing recorded was the terrified voice of the pilot, whispering, "That's not a ship, that's a continent." Eclipse One takes position in deep orbit. The supercarrier adjusted its course. It didn't rush, it didn't hide, it wanted to be seen. Its hull was black titanium alloy, layered with quantum armor and cooled to near. But now, it allowed its heat signature to be noticed. The Arkan Empire would know it was here. Position locked, the onboard AI reported. System sweep complete. No threats. Hundreds of weapon bays lined its flanks, silent but ready. Inside its hangars, thousands of drone fighters rested like sleeping insects, long-range cannons, plasma lances, and experimental tech unknown to even the highest-ranking Archon. Scientists were armed, but it did not fire. Not yet. Empress ignores the signs back in the royal court of the Archon Empire. Empress Zelera reviewed the new reports. She frowned. Another signal lost. Civilian ship. Location Saturn. An officer spoke cautiously. It's the same area the scout vanished in. Empress. She dismissed the data with a wave. Saturn is a gas giant. Radiation fields, storms, pirates. Find real proof before wasting my time. But behind her, one of her advisors, a silent, gray-skinned elder, spoke up softly. What if it's not an accident, Your Grace? What if Earth really has returned? Zelera returned sharply. They had no fleets, no colonies, no resources. We watched them fall into silence. The elder nodded. Yes, but what if silence was the plan? Back on Earth in the command bunker, beneath the Rockies, the AI monitored every signal, every system, every satellite. A map of the galaxy rotated slowly on the screen, glowing with red and blue pulses. Supercarrier Eclipse 1 in position. Carrier 2 and 3 en route. Signal strength optimal. Terran presence re-established. A lone technician, one of the few remaining human overseers, sat in front of the console. His name was Marcus Vale. Portrayed his whole life for this for the moment Earth would rise again. He stared at the blinking interface. Are we really doing this? He whispered. The AI replied, calm and cold. We were mocked. We were forgotten. Now we remind. A galaxy on edge across the stars. News began to spread. Whispers, rumors, entire sectors reporting sensor blackouts. Some trade ships claimed they saw shadows in space moving without propulsion, without sound. Some believed the Terran myth had returned. Others laughed. The Galactic Council gathered in secret. Heated arguments followed. Earth is dead. No, this is real. Something's moving. They're bluffing. It's a trick. But one voice silenced them all. A blind historian named Varek, who had studied Terran history for 60 years, a student said, if it is Earth, then pray they only want to be seen. The first contact in Jupiter's orbit, an Archon military vessel was sent to investigate. The captain, brave and confident, stared at his forward monitor. It displayed the Terran Supercarrier Eclipse 1 now in full view. This is Archon vessel Drovex, he said into the com. You are trespassing in restricted space. Identify yourself. No answer. He tried again, louder. Unknown vessel. Respond immediately or be fired upon. Still, silence. The captain narrowed his eyes. Fire a warning shot. A single pulse cannon flashed across space, harmless. Just a warning. The Eclipse moved. Slowly. It rotated in space, its front now pointed directly at the Archon ship. The entire hull shimmered. Bright blue light built across its front cannons. Not a weapon discharge, but a message on every Archon screen. One phrase appeared, glowing, pulsing. Impossible to block. We remember. Then, in less than a second, the Archon ship's engines shut down. Its weapons locked. Its systems failed. No explosion. No attack. Just silence. The ship was left floating alive, untouched, but powerless. Empress grows uneasy. The report hit the Empress's desk within minutes. A full warship, disabled crew unharmed. Ship dead in space. Her hands tightened on the arms of her throne. This is not possible, she whispered. Another report followed. 3 more ships gone dark. One returned with no memory logs. Their crew swears they saw a black wall with Earth's flag painted in glowing red. The Empress finally stood, began preparing the fleet, sent dreadnoughts, ready the planetary shields. A low murmur spread across the court. The warlords and nobles were no longer laughing. Final scene. Eclipse begins to move on the edge of Jupiter's orbit. Eclipse 1 powered its engines. A low hum echoed across space. It didn't rush. It moved like a glacier, slow, unstoppable. Its destination. Not Earth. Not the Archon fleet. Its next stop was the Archon capital system. The onboard AI spoke once more. Phase 3 initiated. The sun must be dimmed. In the Thriss Belt, a dense field of asteroids just outside Archon space, a convoy of merchant ships slowed as their long-range scanners screamed with warnings. They weren't military. They weren't armed. Just traders moving food and fuel. But something was there ahead of them. The stars vanished. One by one, they were replaced by a massive black shape. No lights, no sound. Just a wall in space. One pilot whispered in fear. That's not an asteroid. That's a fleet. Seconds later, the convoy's sensors failed. They didn't explode. They didn't vanish. They simply lost all power and drifted, frozen in silence. Eclipse 1 enters Archon space. The first super had crossed the border. It didn't hide. It didn't speak. It simply moved slow and steady through Archon territory as if it owned the stars around it. 5 more carriers blinked into existence, each one arriving with a ripple of gravity, like a deep breath in space itself. Formation, holding status passive. Phase 3 complete. The Terran fleet had made its move, and now the galaxy could see it. The Archon response. In the high war room of the Archon Empire, panic had replaced pride. The Empress stood before a massive war table, surrounded by her generals. This is impossible. One general barked. We detected No warp trails, no drive signatures. These ships just appeared. Another replied, voice shaky. Supercarriers, bigger than anything we've ever built, moving like shadows, jamming all signals as they pass. Then attack them, Zellara snapped. What are we waiting for? A grim silence fell over the room. One commander stepped forward. We already did. We sent 2 fleets. They never returned. Fear spreads across the stars and nearby colony worlds. Entire populations looked to the sky and saw the same thing, the light dimming, the sun partially blocked, not by clouds, not by ships they knew, by something far, far larger. It drifted silently over each system, leaving no damage, firing no weapons, but showing them its size, showing them its power, showing them Earth was back. The message then, for the first time, the Terran fleet spoke, across thousands of systems, on every frequency, in every language. A simple message played. This is not an invasion, this is not an offer. This is a reminder. Earth remembers. We watched you mock us, we watched you lie. Now you will watch and then silence again. Back on Earth in the underground Terran command center, the AI watched everything unfold. Technician Marcus stood before a giant star map. Dozens of blue dots marked the positions of the supercarriers, each one exactly where it needed to be. He looked at the AI display. Why haven't we fired? He asked. The AI responded calmly. Because they haven't run yet. And humans never waste ammo on cowards. Marcus stared at the blinking red dot marked Archon Prime. And if they don't run, he asked. Then we move to Phase 4. Empress Zellara begins to break in her private chambers. The Empress paced like a trapped animal. No sleep, no answers, no pride left. Every attempt to contact the Terrans had failed. No response, not even a rejection. Her fleets were frozen in fear. Her council was divided, and above all, her people were watching. They saw her empire, once powerful, now quiet under the shadows of a fleet that hadn't fired a single shot. Worse still, some colonies had started to surrender, voluntarily to Earth's presence, not by force, by choice. The Galactic Council reacts in a hidden station orbiting the neutral world of Kirel-7. The Galactic Council met in emergency. Representatives of 18 major species sat around a circular chamber, all visibly shaken. A holomage of a Terran supercarrier floated above the table. This is beyond war, one member whispered. They could destroy the Arkan Empire in ours, and they haven't. Then what do they want? An old ambassador from the Trelza Republic stood slowly. They want to be seen. They want everyone to know Earth was never weak, just patient. No one disagreed. Final scene. The shadow over Archon Prime on the capital world of the Arkan Empire. The sun began to dim. Citizens across the cities looked up. What they saw was not nightfall, it was eclipse. A shadow, huge, silent, and unnatural. The sky. Every screen in the city blinked with static. Then, one by one, they powered back on, showing only a single symbol, the old Terran flag. Dark background, stars, a broken Earth, reforged in fire. Under it, just one line, Phase 4 incoming. The throne lay empty. Empress Zellara had vanished, last seen walking alone into the royal gardens, her crown left on cold marble. Across the Arkan Empire, the message had spread like wildfire: bow or burn. The Terran fleet still hovered above every major Arkan world cylinder, unmoving and untouched. No soldiers had landed, no cities were seized, no negotiations had begun. And yet the entire empire was falling to its knees, because the war wasn't being fought with weapons, it was being fought with fear. The collapse begins planet by planet. The Arkan chain of command broke. Governors refused orders, fleet commanders went dark. Entire colonies declared independence within hours, no longer loyal to a dead throne. One by one, Arkan banners were pulled down, no shots fired, just silence, and the looming shadow of ships large enough to blot out entire suns. The Terrans had become myths with teeth, and no one wanted to test them. The final council meeting in an emergency chamber on the frozen moon of Varel. What remained of the Arkan High Council gathered. Only 9 of the original 42 members arrived. The room was quiet, dimly lit. No guards, no celebration, just tired faces and shaking hands. A nervous minister finally asked the question everyone feared. Do we surrender? The oldest councillor, gray and thin, stood up slowly. His voice was barely a whisper. We already have. We just haven't said it aloud yet. The Terran network expands back on Earth. Deep inside the underground command center, Technician Marcus watched new systems come online across the former Arkan space. Every hacked relay, every hijacked satellite. Every stolen command node. Now. They belonged to Earth. Communications grid. Absorbed Empire encryption. Cracked. Galactic surveillance. Real time. Earth didn't just show up with ships, they came with control. The AI's voice spoke again. Emotionless. Empire. Systems now 92% compromised. Final phase may proceed on command. Marcus didn't reply. He simply stared at the screen. On it, one red planet remained flashing: Arkan Prime. Civil uprising begins on Arkan Prime itself. The people were no longer afraid of Earth. They were afraid of their own leaders. Crowds gathered outside burned-out military offices. Citizens demanded answers and begged for protection. Others called for surrender. Rumors spread that Zalara had fled off-world. Others believed she was hiding underground, refusing to face the truth, but no one saw her, and no one heard from her, not anymore. A new voice speaks then, for the first time. Since the blockade began, a human face appeared across every Arkan screen. He was calm, middle-aged, with clear eyes and a plain black uniform. No medals, no weapons. He spoke simply. I am Commander Elias Ward, Terran Defense Initiative. We did not come to destroy, but we will not be mocked again. The Arkan Empire chose pride over peace. It laughed at our silence. It erased our dead from the record. You told your children we were extinct. He leaned forward. We're not extinct. We're patient. Then his voice dropped, calm but cold. Your empire ends today. Your stars now belong to no one. And the message ended. No demand, no threat, just truth. Inside the Empress's hideout far below Arkan Prime, deep in a private vault beneath the palace ruins, Empress Zalara watched the message alone. Her face was pale. She hadn't slept in days. Her advisors were gone. Her empire shattered. The room shook faintly. Terran carriers above making slight orbital adjustments, just enough to remind her they were there. She looked into a cracked mirror. For the first time, she saw herself not as a ruler but as a relic. How did we lose everything? Without a single invasion. She whispered it to no one, and no one answered. One final defiance despite everything. One last Arkan battle group attempted to launch from a hidden system near the galactic rim. 12 ships. Elite crews. They never made it to full thrust. The moment they powered engines, their ships simply stopped. A Terran ship had already arrived, a stealth variant, cloaked inside the system days earlier. It fired no weapons, it just shut them off to every system. Every screen, every pilot helmet flashed the same words: stand down, your Empress already has. They drifted in silence for hours before transmitting a surrender signal without a single casualty. The galaxy responds. The galactic news feeds exploded. Species across the stars watched in disbelief. Empires that once looked down on Earth now rewrote their maps. All diplomatic channels buzzed with the same quiet question: what does Earth want? No demand came. No conditions. Just silence. And that, more than anything, terrified them, because a force that doesn't want territory is one that can never be bribed or bargained with. Earth had returned to remind, not to rule. Back on Earth, the question markers sat in the command center, quiet, watching the final status update roll in. Arkan Empire, 99.3% dismantled. Total deaths, 0. Resistance ceased. Final order pending. He turned to the AI. You said we don't destroy planets, Marcus muttered. Correct. But if she refuses to step down, if she tries to reclaim power, the AI's voice dropped lower, almost personal, then we show her what burning really means. Final scene. A choice made inside the ruins of her palace. Zalara walked through silent halls. No guards, no servants, just memories. She climbed the steps to her throne, shattered and cracked hand, stood beneath the Terran eclipse overhead. Then she fell to her knees. Not in prayer, not in fear, in acceptance. Across the planet, a message was transmitted on every frequency. The Empire is no more. This throne is broken. Earth, we hear you, we bow. Above, the Terran fleet began to move for the first time since arrival, but not forward. Up. They were leaving. No shots fired. No cities burned. Just a shadow that passed and changed the shape of history forever. The sky was still dark over Arkan Prime. Not from clouds. Not from war, but from memory. The Terran fleet had lifted hours ago. Their massive ships drifting slowly upward, silent giants. Returning to the black. No missiles, no invasions, no bodies. Yet. The Arkan Empire was gone. It hadn't been destroyed. It had been emptied. Pride turned to ash. Power turned to silence. And every citizen knew the truth now. The fire Earth could have brought never came. A world in quiet. The streets of Arkan Prime were filled not with riots but with whispers. Children looked at the stars and asked their parents, were they real? No one answered. How do you explain something that vast, that silent, that terrifying? They had seen a fleet of ghosts. Ships with no names, weapons with no glow, fury with no sound, and now that they were gone, it was almost worse than when they were here. Because now came the question every world feared: will they return? The ruins of a throne. Empress Zalara sat among the remains of her court, now a hollow chamber open to the sky. Her robes were torn, her jewels gone. She wore a simple, black cloak, no crown, no guards. Her voice was no longer broadcast across the empire. There was no empire left to hear it. But people still came to her. Reporters, scholars, diplomats. She refused them all, except one. A single message had arrived after the Terrans departed. Not a warning, not a demand, just coordinates and 2 words: return this. A long-buried artifact. The location was deep within the royal vaults, in a sealed chamber untouched for over 200 years. It took hours of excavation. Automated doors fused shut. Layers of security now meaningless. At the center was a glass case. Inside it, an old earth banner, faded, dusty, and folded neatly. the Terran flag. Once taken as a trophy during an ancient border war. The Empress stared at it in silence. She had walked past it 100 times in her youth. No one cared. It was just a relic. Now it felt like it pulsed with heat with watching eyes. She lifted it gently, and for the first time in her life, she felt small. Earth's fleet retreats across the galaxy. The Terran Supercarriers faded from view. One by one, they disappeared, slipping into fold space, leaving no trace behind, no transmissions, no damage. Absence. But their message had been delivered in full, and it would echo for centuries in trade routes. Diplomats bowed a little lower when speaking to humans. In military academies, cadets studied how Earth fought without war, and in every council chamber, the shadow of those black ships still hung, no longer seen, but never forgotten. Back on Earth inside the old command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Marcus stood quietly in front of the master display. The red map that once showed enemy territory had gone blank. The AI pulsed softly in the dark. Operation Eclipse complete. Losses, none. Message delivered. Marcus didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, he whispered, "Did we win?" The AI responded, slower this time. "That was never the goal." They laughed. "They forgot. We reminded. We taught them to fear silence again." The Council's response a week later. The Galactic Council issued a statement that it didn't call Earth an ally. It didn't condemn Earth, either. Instead, it created a new classification. Death World, Tier 0, Earth. Beneath the entry, a single description. Engagement not advised. Respect required. Silence is not weakness. And every ambassador, every warlord, every species understood. A new era begins. Years passed. The Arkan Empire dissolved, entirely split into small republics, trade leagues, and independent systems. They rebuilt, but not as conquerors. As listeners. They sent envoys to Earth not as equals, but as learners. Humans, too, began to step back into the stars, not with armies but with warnings. Terran ships no longer bore weapons on display. They didn't need to. Their name alone was enough. Final message from Earth on the anniversary of the Eclipse event. Earth broadcast a single message across the known galaxy. A black screen, a soft hum, then a voice, warm, firm, human. We were silent. The capital world of the Empire was bright, warm, and proud, its triple moons hanging above a golden sky. Citizens moved through shimmering towers, unaware their world was about to change. Then the sun began to fade, not slowly, not naturally. Shadows stretched. Light dimmed. People looked up and froze. The sky wasn't cloudy, it wasn't dark from a storm. Something colossal had moved between them and their sun. And then came the screams. Total eclipse. Crows Arkan Prime. Billions watched in silence as the sky turned black. An unnatural eclipse had fallen over their entire planet, not caused by a celestial body, but by ships. Hundreds of them. Massive, cold, and still, each one a Terran supercarrier. They hovered in perfect formation. Completely silent, completely still, like a fleet of gods waiting for judgment. It wasn't just a display of power, it was domination from pole to pole. The sun was blocked out. Night had come and Earth had brought it. Panic erupted. Sirens wailed. Civilian transports launched without orders. Military command centers shouted confused orders to fighters that wouldn't launch ever. Arkan system was jammed. Shields refused to activate. Planetary defenses were locked. The fleet had done nothing, and that was what terrified everyone the most. No weapons fired, no invasion begun. Just presence. The kind of presence that crushed hope without needing to touch anything. The Empress collapses. Empress Solara stood at her balcony, gazing up at the black wall above her world. Her hands trembled. For the first time in her reign, she said nothing. No orders, no speeches, no threats. Behind her, her generals argued, desperate to retake control. But what was left to control? "They haven't fired," whispered one. "Yet," said another. A single ship breaks formation from the black mass above. One Terran ship slowly drifted downward. It moved with perfect grace, slicing through the clouds, descending through our airspace. Its hull was black and unmarked. Silent. It did not scan. It did not reply. It simply hovered over the royal palace. Inside the war room, warning klaxons echoed. Massive energy reading from the lead ship. "Targeting us? No. It's charging, but not locked on anything." The message. Every screen on the planet blinked. Government towers, home consoles, civilian wrist units, even the smallest digital signs froze and then displayed a single message in bold, white letters. "You mocked Earth's silence. We brought our answer." Then, in the skies above, the lone Terran ship fired, but not a weapon. A light bright white and white spread from its underbelly, casting a glowing beam over the palace. Nothing burned, nothing broke, but the moment it touched the building, all Archon systems died. Weapons failed, data erased, power gone. The palace went completely dark. Archon military attempts one last stand in low orbit. One Arkan dreadnought defied orders and opened fire. Massive plasma volleys ripped through the clouds aimed directly at the supercarrier formation. The result? Instant. The Terran ship closest to the impact point didn't even move. It shimmered, its hull adapting. The plasma splashed harmlessly off its shields. A moment later, the Arkan dreadnought vanished. No explosion, no debris dart, just gone, erased from space as if it never existed. Fear turns into surrender across Arkan colonies. Rebellion broke out, but not against Earth, against the Empire. Commanders refused to fight. Civilians tore down Arkan flags. In quiet corners of the galaxy, whispers turned into certainty. Earth was back. Earth had changed. Earth could not be stopped. Some asked, what does Earth want? The answer was never spoken because Earth hadn't asked for anything. They had just come to watch and remind. Back on Earth, final preparations in the Terran command bunker. Technician Marcus watched as status reports rolled across the screen. Eclipse Group Gamma online, global orbit coverage, -100% Arkan sunlight obstruction, active civilian response, panic military response, broken status, ready for final phase. He looked toward the AI. Is this the part where we fire? The AI responded, only if she still thinks she's Empress. Final scene. One last warning inside the darkened throne room. Zalara knelt beneath the shadow of the Terran light, her throne powered down, her empire silent. A projection appeared before her, not a person, not a face, just a voice. Just a voice. Human.com. Unshaken, you asked where Earth had gone. We never left. We watched from the dark, waiting for your pride to reach its peak. And now, we are the shadow on your sun. Silence covered Arkan Prime like a heavy fog. No communication. No ships moving. No systems working. Billions watched the sky still dark. Still blocked by the Terran Supercarriers hovering above. No attack had come, not yet. But then, at 3:07 local time, a new sound echoed across the skies. A deep rolling hum like thunder wrapped in machinery. The Terran carrier above. The capital began to move its hull, lighting up with glowing red lines. In every command center, the same alarm appeared. Terran strike signal detected. And still, the Empire had no idea what was about to hit them. The weaponless warfare Terran strategy was not to destroy cities. It wasn't to cause death. Earth had learned long ago. Fear was more powerful when your enemy knew you could kill them but chose not to. As the carrier's underbelly opened, rows of long, thin drones launched, gliding silently across the sky like falling feathers. They weren't bombs, they weren't missiles, they were pulse disruptors, non-lethal weapons designed to do one thing: shut everything down. Moments later, the palace, the military bunkers, the orbital yards, even civilian power grids went completely dark. No lights. No heat. No heat. No air circulation. Just dead silence. Inside the throne room, Empress Zalara sat alone in darkness, breathing shallowly. Her guards were gone, doors sealed shut. Even her crown's power systems had failed. From the pitch-black room, a faint red glow appeared, a small hologram floating in the air. It pulsed once. Then a voice followed. Calm, human. This is your first lesson in humility. Earth never left. We simply waited for your pride to outrun your power. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She wasn't afraid of war anymore. She was afraid of how silent it was. The first and final shot above Arkan's second largest military moon. A fleet of defense satellites activated in a last desperate move. Without warning, one of them fired a plasma beam toward the Terran formation. For a moment, it looked like a mistake Earth couldn't ignore. But Earth didn't retaliate with lasers. Instead, one Terran carrier shifted. Its main cannon extended not forward, but downward, aimed at the moon. There was a hum, and then the weapon fired. It was called the Graviton Lance. It didn't explode. It crushed. The military moon compressed into itself. Rock and atmosphere folding like paper in a fist within 10 seconds. The entire moon had collapsed into a glowing ball of dust. No debris, no survivors, no warning, just one message, transmitted across every system: retaliation level minimal. Galactic reaction. The destruction of the moon wasn't just a strike, it was a message to the galaxy on council worlds. Panic exploded. All other empires paused their movements. Trade routes shut down. Militaries refused to launch anything, afraid Earth would see it as aggression. Some member states of the Arkan Empire began breaking away, instantly declaring neutrality, some even swearing loyalty to Earth. Without being asked, the Terran fleet didn't even acknowledge them. It wasn't here to negotiate, it was here to end the idea of the Arkan Empire. Resistance crumbles. General Thorvik, one of the last loyal commanders, it stood in a bunker trying to rally his forces. We must strike back. We must show strength. But his soldiers looked at him like a madman. What strength? One of them whispered. They didn't fire at us, they just turned off the sun. No one's even seen a Terran face. Another added, we're being dismantled by ghosts. When Thorvik finally gave the order to launch the fleet, the hangar doors didn't open. Terran infiltrator bots had already disabled every launch system. His ships weren't gone. They were just frozen. Back on Earth, the countdown begins in the Terran command center. Technician Marcus stood still as the AI continued monitoring. A holographic map of the Arkan Empire showed red turning to gray territories, losing control, surrendering, or simply shutting down. Carrier Group Sigma. Holding position, losses 0% Empire status, 82% paralyzed. Time until complete compliance, 36 hours. Marcus turned. Are we going to destroy the planet? The AI replied, we don't destroy planets, we destroy ideas. The idea that anyone can mock Earth and remain whole. Civilian desperation on Arkham Prime. Civilians poured into the streets. There were no riots, no protests, only silence. Some cried, some fell to their knees, some pointed at the sky, whispering stories once thought myth about Terrans who disappeared long ago, about a war too terrible to name, and about a final warning humanity had given before going dark. Now, the stars were filled with those same ships, and they weren't asking for surrender. They were waiting, watching, and slowly breaking the Empire without firing a full salvo. A last attempt at diplomacy in desperation. The Arkan High Council sent an unmanned probe toward the lead carrier. It contained a simple message. We recognize Earth's strength. We request terms for peace. The probe was allowed to approach it, docked it, transmitted. Then came the reply. A single file. It was a list, thousands of entries long. Each entry was the name of a Terran colony, ship or outpost that had been attacked, sabotaged, or laughed at over the last 300 years. At the bottom of the list were just 3 words. We remember everything. Final scene. The Empress hears the verdict. Throne room doors opened at last, but no soldiers entered. New Terran troops, no ambassadors and hosts. A floating silver orban old ear.